You join me here in Conwy, and behind me is Conwy Castle, built in 1283 by Edward I. He built a series of castles in Wales that he called his Iron Ring, and he used them to keep the Welsh under control and keep an eye on them. Conwy Castle was built as one of a series of castles, all one day's march away from each other. Along National Cycle Route number 5, you have 3 of those castles. That would be Flint Castle, Rudlin Castle, and this one, Conwy Castle. But there's many more other castles, as we'll see later on. Hot fact about Edward I. He was 6'2", the same as me. And neither me or him would fit in one of the houses here in Conwy. It's the smallest house in Britain, and it stands at 3 metres tall and 1.8 metres wide. And it's set over 2 floors. Believe it or not, there was someone living in it up until 1900. And he was a fisherman from the area, and he stood at 6'3" tall. So he must have slept with his feet out the window. It's a very popular attraction. Apparently it gets 55,000 visitors a year, and there's always a queue of people looking to have their photograph took in front of it. But it doesn't stop there. There's 3 bridges here in Conwy. A road bridge, a railway bridge, and a suspension bridge built by Thomas Telford. He's the man that built the Menai Bridge and the Ellesmere Canal. But it doesn't stop there. You also have the shop of TV salvage hunter Drew Pritchard. So if you fancy buying some really expensive antiques and strapping them to the back of your bike, you can always go in his shop as well. Drew Pritchard isn't the first person in the area to have a bit of architectural salvage. In fact, Conwy Castle behind me was built out of the remains of another castle. Let's bimble.
It's yours, just wait. You do your best along the way. But it's those arms that told me I don't care if it's yours or mine. Without you it's just a waste of time. You showed me from the start such inspirations need a heart to bring you round. It could be ours. Get lost along the way. As sure as night designed the day, as long as I'm allowed to say, it's my heart that told me I don't care, you just disagree. Without you it wasn't meant to be. You showed me from the start such inspirations need a heart to bring you round. Say what you like, I'm a peace-loving person, but I know I'm right. It's as easy as right from wrong. I'm a lover, not a fighter, so I wrote this song. You showed me from the start such inspirations need a heart to bring you round. It could be ours, big aspirations need a heart to hold you, heart to hold you down from the start. Such inspirations need a heart to bring you round. It could be ours. Big aspirations need a heart to hold you, heart to hold you down.
This is Deganwy Castle. You'll have to excuse me if I'm a little bit red in the face, but it's up a massive, great big hill. There isn't a lot of it left now. Just a few clumps of stonework like the one behind me. Like I said earlier, a lot of the stonework was taken away and used to build Edward I's castle at Conwy. And I've no doubt a lot of the stonework got used to make a lot of farmers' houses and a few dry stone walls. The name Deganwy comes from the first tribe that ever settled here, the Degant tribe. And that name Degant was mixed with the ancient Welsh word for river, which is Goy. And over the years, you get Deganwy. It was the headquarters of the King of Gwynedd. That was Maelgwyn Gwynedd. Maelgwyn means princely hound in Middle Welsh. It was said that Maelgwyn died of yellow plague, but that's not thought to be correct now. Yellow plague started and ended 100 years before his death. And they know that because there was a solar eclipse that happened at the same time as yellow plague. And all the medieval people thought that the yellow plague came from the solar eclipse. It was more likely that he died of Justinianic plague, which is basically just Black Death. It's the same thing as bubonic plague. It comes from fleas on rats. His body was buried on Puffin Island, which is fully visible from up here. If you do take the time to climb up to the top, which is well worth it, even if you do get red in the face, there's stunning views. You can see behind me all the way over to Llandudno. In that direction you see Conwy and the castle, and you see Anglesey and Puffin Island. In 812 AD, the castle was struck by lightning. And that almost destroyed it completely. You got to think back then in the 800s, castles wouldn't have been made out of stone, they would have been made out of timber. But they rebuilt it. But it made no odds, because a man called Cairnwulf, or Coinwulf if you're from England, the king of Mercia, came and burnt it to the ground anyway. Mercia is where I'm from, anywhere south of the River Mersey, WA4 massive. It lay dormant until the 11th century, when the Normans took over and decided that they would build a castle here. And it became the home of Robert of Rhuddlan, up until 1093, when a Welsh archer shot him. This whole castle was a big bone of contention between the English and the Welsh for many years, swapping hands back and forth. It was at that point that Llewellyn Fawr took over the castle from the Normans and reclaimed it for Wales. And it remained in his family and was passed down to his son, Llewellyn ap Griffith. But again, the English came, and when it looked like they were going to be defeated by the English, Llewellyn ap Griffith decided, I'm going to destroy the castle. And he burnt it to the ground just as Cairnwulf had, so that the English couldn't have it. But 5 years later, the English king, Henry III, decided that he would build a lovely stone castle here. But you know, grudges last a long time. Llewellyn ap Griffith destroyed the stone castle as well. And the remains that you see here are the remains of the destroyed castle. They never built it again. It's not a very good strategic location for a castle. Although you're up a hill and you can see anyone that's coming at you, you can easily be cut off from food and water and provisions, and you end up being a bit of a prisoner up a hill. A much better place for a castle was where Edward I built Conwy Castle, next to a river. The whole of this hill is actually an ex-volcano. Millions of years ago this would have been a bubbling volcano with lava spewing out of it. It's 100 metres tall, so no wonder it had a red face. It does remind me of the big mountain out of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I feel like making a sculpture out of mashed potato.